you very much for joining us. My name is Helen Johnson. I am a partner at Kennedy's law firm. I'm also on the executive board of Sheffield Property Association, and I'm also part of the Sheffield COVID-19 business response group. So I'm here today sort of representing all of those business groups and also Kennedy's. It's absolutely brilliant to see people from such a wide range of organisations, and so hopefully we can have an interesting and interactive session today. We're hoping to have a bit of a Q&A session at the end, so if you do have questions that come to mind throughout the session, feel free to put them in the chat box and we can pick them up at the end. Otherwise, we can just have a bit more of an interactive chat at the end. So whatever works best. The aim of today is to try and better understand the importance of engaging employers in careers education. And from an employer point of view, it's about how we can get involved with that and how we can help. So from personal experience, I've had quite an interest in careers education for some time. And up until probably sort of 6 months ago, I'd always found it a little bit difficult. I'd always thought, oh, I don't know who to contact. Seems to be lots of different groups. I don't know how they all work together, and so it just went on the too difficult list, and I never did anything about it. And then through my role with the Sheffield Property Association and then with the Business Recovery Group, I started to see how it all fitted together, and same names started popping up again and again. I started to understand it a little bit more. And then we had a chat with Roger Malem, who's one of our speakers today, and he told us a bit more about the initiatives taking place in Sheffield. And all of a sudden, getting involved became quite easy and more straightforward. And so hopefully today can be that, can bridge that gap for some other people, and also just be an opportunity for us all to get to know each other a bit better and to ask questions. So fantastic speakers with us today. We've got Graham Booth, Fiona Fletcher, Roger Malem and Catherine Ragg, who are all part of the Sheffield Enterprise Advisor Network. Graham, Fiona and Roger are going to provide a really helpful overview of careers education in Sheffield and some of the opportunities to get involved. Then Catherine's going to tell us more about the See It Be It campaign, which is one of the ways in which we've managed to get involved quite recently. And then Katie Mcmanus from HPD. HPD have been real leaders with the See It Be It campaign, and Katie's going to tell us why she was keen to get involved and how easy the process was. So I think that's probably enough for me from an intro point of view, and I'll hand over to Graham and the team to take it from here.
Thanks, Helen, and thanks for everyone for coming along today. It's myself, Graham Booth, Fiona Fletcher and Roger Malem. If you could give us a little wave as well so people can see you there, who are going to be presenting about the careers education in schools and how you can get involved. I've got a few slides, so I'm just going to screen share. Can someone give me a thumbs up just to say that's okay? Yep, good. Okay. Yep, so we're the Enterprise Advisor Network team working out of Sheffield City Council on a national project that's funded by Careers and Enterprise Company and has lots of different partners involved and different brands associated with it, some of which are listed across the bottom there. Just going to talk you through what we're going to talk about today. We've got a little icebreaker, which is going to be fun because we've not done one of these for a long time. Going to talk about the current situation in schools, the careers education landscape, benefits of employer engagement, a bit about careers education in non-stream settings and with special educational needs, ways you can get involved. Oh, yeah, and that's it. And then we finish. Then we'll hand over to Catherine. So for the icebreaker then, I'm just going to stop sharing at the moment because I want to get a little bit interactive on here, if that's okay. If I know most of you have got your video on, so if you could just put your hand up as a yes like that and hold it up. If you haven't got your video on for whatever reason, then you can use a reaction. I think there's a thumbs up in there. And I'm just going to ask a couple of questions and sort of try and scan through. Roger and Fiona, if you could help with this maybe and sort of tell me what the numbers are looking like. But the first question is, are you doing the job that you dreamed of when you were younger? Put your hand up if that's a yes. I can.
4.
Yeah, only about 4 there.
4 or 5.
Yeah, out of 35 of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, are you doing a job that existed when you were at school?
We've got more hands up for that.
Yeah, quite a few more on that. It's probably about half and half, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe even a bit more than half. And was the careers education you received any good at school?
It's not
Jack's got a 50-50. Helen's got, oh, there's a lot of 50-50s. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And then the final question was, and it's a question posed by the invite that Tom sent out. Do you think that careers education can be improved?
Yeah, I think that's everybody's.
Yeah, unanimous there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to screen share now. Thank you for that. See, icebreakers aren't too daunting, are they? Right, so I'm going to have a look at some of these questions and what we thought about these. And so, are you doing the job that you dreamed of when you were younger? If you didn't say yes to this, which most of you don't, you're probably not alone. Statistics from the Office for National Statistics would suggest that most people aren't doing the job that they dreamed of when they were younger. And there's a sizable gap between young people's aspirations and the reality of the jobs market. So here's a little chart that shows some of the gaps between what jobs young people were doing when they left education compared to what they were doing 5 years later. It is a couple of years old, but it's the latest I could find, I'm afraid. But you can see there with the blue dots, there's a number of 22 to 29-year-olds that are doing those top 5 professions, and the grey dots showing how many wanted to do that. So particularly those kind of arts, literary, media careers, there's a big drop off there. Lots of people wanting to be health professionals, but actually not so many doing that. And then you can see teaching. There's a lot of public sector jobs in there and arts kind of jobs. So that's a real opportunity for you to promote your sector as a career of choice, especially if it's not one of those ones that's in that top 5. So the next question was, are you doing a job that existed when you were at school? I don't want to make any assumptions about anyone else's age. So here were some jobs that didn't exist when I was at school. Social media manager, app developer, cloud computing specialist, driverless car engineer, and drone operator. I don't know if we've got any of those on the call today. I think we might have a drone operator actually of sorts here. And I think we've probably got social media app development people on here, maybe more. If you think back to when your parents were at school, the job market would have looked even more different. And if we think about how who children's main influences are for careers education and where they may come from, then that is most likely to be parents and carers. And if not, then teachers, who, as brilliant as they are at what they do, are also a lot older than students. And many of them haven't worked outside their sector for a long time, or even at all in some cases. So it's important that employers input into this careers education to give the most up-to-date picture to young people who are receiving it. So the next question was the careers education you received at school any good? I think it's certainly fair to say that careers education and guidance hasn't always been delivered as well as it could, sometimes even not at all. However, these days, the importance of good careers education is well recognised, and all schools have a named careers leader and must provide information on all the options available to students, as well as an opportunity to have interviews with an independent careers advisor. We have something called the Gatsby benchmarks, and we have lots of providers working in this space. We'll talk a bit more about that later. and Ofsted now looks at careers as part of personal development and specifically refers to careers in some of its descriptors. Admittedly, there's still some way to go, and some schools are better than others. Allocation and resources is a challenge, and Roger will tell you a bit more about that later. But for now, just a few stats. 92% of careers leaders in schools say that careers education has improved since they started working with us and Careers Enterprise Company. And a recent report from Careers and Enterprise Company on careers education said that schools, colleges and businesses are now working together on a national scale and are highly engaged. Public investment is supporting national improvement on careers and making a difference to young people, especially in disadvantaged areas. Schools and colleges have prioritised careers education as a key response to the COVID pandemic, and the foundations are in place to build on the impact of the careers strategy and support economic recovery. So I'm going to hand over to Roger for the first part, who's going to tell us a little bit about the current situation in schools at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit of background. I was an assistant head in Fir Vale, which some of you may know, in Sheffield, for a very long time, and we really used employers and businesses because our young people just weren't getting that experience in the local area and from their parents. So I really know how important this agenda is. Obviously in schools now, if you're a parent, if you just read the news, if you just sort of, general awareness tells you it's a very, very challenging situation. Kids are in, kids are out, groups are in, groups are out. There's that dread phrase, catch up, in terms of, picking up on all the missed education that happened up to the summer. And of course, the problem there is that, and this has been a general problem for a long time, is this focus on English, maths, science, core subjects. I could see it when I was in school. Some of the things that were being squeezed out were just, sort of really worrying. And one of those was careers and just that general development, social development of young people. Careers leaders have been mentioned. Again, it's a really mixed bag. Some schools, the person has it's their 100% their job. In other schools, they might get an hour a week. So it's a real mixed economy. Obviously, the more time the person has, the better the outcomes. I think it's a lot of kids at the moment are just literally stuck in lessons. They are just catching up in small bubbles with the same faces, sometimes very, very rarely moving around school, very rarely having any of the external inputs that we used to have, and I know used to make a massive difference. Obviously staff are in and out. They are seeing some of their familiar staff, some familiar faces, but a lot of supply staff and just lessons which sort of have lacked any interactivity or external engagement. ICT's obviously been a big problem. I remember it well from Fir Vale, was that sort of it's okay saying go to virtual learning. Very few of our kids ever had any access to not just the ICT but things like the internet, and I think Mel's talked about that before, this sort of access to the, not just the physical laptop, but the access to the internet. And when you're in a household of 6, 7, 8 people, this is, that's not a learning environment, is it? But there has been many good things. And I think one of them is this move to virtual opportunities. Schools had never really dipped their toe in. So if you think it's 8 months, you're seeing some great sort of practice now out there that schools are really sort of engaging virtually with firms. And I think this is hopefully where you come in, is that we've always had access to large employers, sort of, who sort of do things for often corporate social responsibility, but that's fine. Whereas small and medium-sized firms have never often had the capacity to engage, whereas now virtually they can, because they don't have to visit, they don't have to, it can be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And that's, I think, one of the great flexibilities, and hopefully one of the things we'll carry on. And this is hopefully where people can offer their help and support, is that it's not now perhaps such a big thing to go in, commit, could be half a day by the time you've finished. So hopefully that's one thing that will come out of this. So I think we need you more than ever. We need businesses and employers in schools more than ever, because the impact is always positive, and we just need that now for our young people. So I think that's roughly where we are. It's been a challenge, but there's many opportunities.
That's great. Thanks, Roger. So I'm going to go on a little bit now to talk about the careers education landscape and the Gatsby benchmarks, which is something we talk about a lot in our network. So if you're someone on this call who has done activities with us before, then you'll no doubt heard us talk about these. And these were developed as a framework for good careers education and guidance. If a school or college does all 8 of these, they can be sure to be meeting their requirements in this respect. On our team, we tend to focus on Gatsby benchmarks 5 and 6. As that's where, and these are the 2 where employers can add the most value directly. So Gatsby benchmark 5 is encounters with employers and employees. Gatsby benchmark 6 is experience of the workplace. But employers can support with other benchmarks too. So sometimes getting involved in Gatsby benchmark 2, the labour market information. Gatsby benchmark 4, careers in the curriculum. And Gatsby benchmark 7, encounters with further and higher education, particularly if we're talking about apprenticeships and sort of the qualifications that you need to do certain jobs. So focusing on 5 and 6, Gatsby benchmark 5 activities include things like careers talks, CV workshops, mock interviews, mentoring and employability workshops. And Gatsby benchmark 6 activities can include things like workplace visits, work shadowing, work experience and volunteering. We talk about making it meaningful a lot as well. It's important that all encounters are meaningful, and we can support careers leaders and volunteers to ensure this. And we have checklists and resources to support this. And Roger talked as well about a lot of the stuff being virtual. So now that most encounters are happening virtual, we also need to ensure that there needs to be extensive 2-way interaction. This doesn't necessarily need to be live. It can come after the fact if it's a recorded session. Students need to actively participate in the session, so not just passively watching a video. And when we talk about see it, be it as well, we'll talk a bit about how we've tried to make that interactive and the follow-up that comes from it. And for Gatsby benchmark 6, students must perform a task or work-related activity and receive feedback on it from the employer. So as I said at the start, we have quite a few different programs and projects under the Enterprise Advisor Network and Sheffield City Council and banner. And we've got a few colleagues here today working on some of these projects. I'm going to briefly cover them all here now, and then I'll be bringing in some colleagues at the end just to chip in on what opportunities they have available. But for now, I'm just going to give a little overview of the programs that we've got. So the Enterprise Advisor Network, which is me, Roger and Fiona. This is an ongoing strategic commitment where volunteers are matched with a school or college and support them with their careers education strategy and links into the working world. Nearly every school and college in Sheffield is in this network, and we have a number of brilliant enterprise advisors across the city. I think some of you are on the call this morning, so hello to our EAs. The Careers Hub, this is a new initiative. There's some added resources to support schools in the northeast of the city and in special schools to support all 8 of the Gatsby benchmarks that I talked about before. And there will be strategic employer involvement for a new cornerstone group on that. And we had our first special educational needs and disabilities cluster meeting yesterday, which Fiona led, which was great, talking about good practice for careers in special schools. We're going to see lots of traction in that as part of the Careers Hub. Sheffield Business Together Trailblazer schools. Some of you on here will be Sheffield Business Together members already, so you'll know about that. That's a business-led organisation looking at a variety of corporate social responsibility initiatives across Sheffield. Our involvement with them is through the education and social mobility strands, and we have a Trailblazer school scheme, and they receive an advanced offer of the Enterprise Advisor Network. That's with Longley Park Sixth Form and Sheffield Springs Academy, as there are 2 schools in Sheffield in areas of low social mobility. And Carolyn will talk about this later on and how they involve volunteers. The Apprenticeship Support Knowledge Programme, we've got Ed and maybe Emily on this call today who support with that. And that's tailored sessions with schools to help promote apprenticeships and help young people prepare for them. Ed also provides a work experience service for schools and colleges to help find placements for students. That's run out of Sheffield City Council. And another council scheme here is the Business and Education Alliance, which is a pretty new project. And we'll be learning more about this next year to support SMEs to engage in careers education. I'm supporting with some of the aspects of that at the moment as the other half of my role. We have Big Challenge, which is a citywide enterprise competition with schools competing against each other for prizes. And we have Better Learner, Better Workers. This is a program in partnership with the company of Cutlers, and it provides a mix of employer encounters, workplace visits, and skills days. And most of these programs do have ways that employers can engage and add value. So we'll cover some of the opportunities later, and there'll be a chance to sign up to some of them after the event. We also work with a wide range of providers, both locally and nationally, helping them to promote and deliver their offer in schools and college. So hopefully you recognise a few of those logos there. And I think we've got some people definitely got people from Opportunity Sheffield, which is part of the council, Sheffield Business Together, and CYREC Health and Social Careers on here. So Roger touched on some of this already, and the impact of COVID-19 on careers. Obviously, it does bring some challenges in terms of careers education. So just a few stats for you. This was a poll from Careers Enterprise Company. Said 74% of teachers felt employability skills were now the most important way to improve careers prospects. And that was compared to 62% who said academic grades. This was an Engineering UK survey that said that 62% of young people felt that finding a job in the future has become more difficult. And research by the Resolution Foundation shows that the crisis may reduce employment chances of lower skilled young adults leaving education by a third. But as Roger said, it does bring lots of opportunities, and he mentioned those before, really, so I won't go over them again. But it's the removal of barriers, and the fact we can reach a wider range of people is a positive that comes from this, and we can look at it as a long-term thing, not just a COVID response, but actually a way to use these new ways we've learned to do careers to help us achieve those benchmarks, especially ones like Gatsby Benchmark 6, the encounters, the experiences of the workplace that some schools have struggled with before. We might find easier ways to do that now. So a bit about the case for employer engagement in schools. Just a few stats to show you how much value our work and that of our volunteers brings to careers education. Young people are twice as likely to be unemployed than the average adult. But if they've had 4 or more employer encounters, they're 86% less likely to be not in education, employment or training. And I shouldn't have used that acronym there, that's very naughty of me, but hopefully NEAT is one that a few people are familiar with anyway. And after those 4 encounters, they're also likely to earn 18% more than their peers. But in 2018, research showed that was only happening in 40% of schools. I think it's also important to note here that many students from wealthier and more connected families have more opportunities presented to them. And I think it's safe to say that a lot of people who've had work experience placements in their employer will have come from friends or relatives of managers or directors who are working there. We need to remember that Sheffield's a very divided city, and in our team we work very hard to level the playing field for those from more disadvantaged and diverse backgrounds. So I didn't go back to the 4th question in the icebreaker. You might have noticed that was deliberate because I wanted to sort of cover everything that we were doing before I came back to that. So if we go back to that question now, do you think careers education can be improved? We all said yes, 100%, wasn't it? And so the answer is yes, and you can play your part in this. In order to achieve the Gatsby benchmarks, every school needs to offer every young person 7 encounters with employers. And by the age of 16, every pupil should have had at least 1 experience of a workplace, and a second by age 18. So we've done the maths on this, and we need your help. We need 1 employer encounter to at least 1 young person a year for every 7 employees. And we need 1 workplace experience each year for every 25 employees. So when you put it like that, it doesn't really sound like very much, I don't think. And if everyone did that, then we'd be able to achieve everything that we need to do. So it's Fiona's turn now to talk a little bit about careers in non-mainstream settings and for those with special educational needs.
Yeah, Graham just mentioned that we've just launched our SEND group as part of the Careers Hub in Sheffield, and we had our first meeting last night. The Gatsby benchmarks, I think it's important to say that the Gatsby benchmark expectation is exactly the same in a special school and a pupil referral unit as it is in a mainstream school. So they are expected to provide exactly the same opportunities to those students that they would have received in a mainstream setting. And that the other important thing to say as well is that of all of the students that have SEND needs, half of those students will actually be in mainstream settings. So aside of the special schools and the pupil referral unit that we do have, we also have a significant number of students in mainstream settings that have significant SEND needs. We do have 7 special schools in Sheffield. We have 1 pupil referral unit, and we have 22 alternative provision providers in Sheffield. It's very early. 3.3% of pupils in England have an EHCP, so an education, health and care plan. And that follows the students from it's a birth to 25 plan, so that will follow them throughout their educational journey. And 12.1% of pupils in England actually have special educational needs, and the split is literally 50-50. 50% of them will be in mainstream settings and 50% of them will be in our special schools and pupil referral units. One thing that we really struggle with is getting that employer engagement with those schools, and we're working really hard to improve that, and we're hoping that we'll get some buy-in from this session where people can actually see that these young people have a huge amount to offer and are hugely beneficial to the employer. And it's getting those opportunities and experiences for those young people in the same way that we're promoting for the mainstream settings. So we just wanted to highlight that, you know, we do have a significant number of students in Sheffield that have got special educational needs and disabilities, and that we're really keen to improve their experiences of the workplace and employer engagement opportunities. Thanks, Graham.
Thanks, Fiona. And when we've got a form that we're going to send out after this event, and on that there'll be a couple of questions where you can note if that's an area you'd specifically like to be involved in, and then we can talk to Fiona about involving you in that. So here's the important bit for you guys then. This is the benefits of employer engagement in careers education for you as employers. And I'll lump these first 2 together, promoting your sector as a career of choice and tackling skills shortages. So if you think back to that chart at the beginning and the disconnect between aspiration and reality, if you have a very specialised or ageing workforce, this is your opportunity to help fix this and get young people thinking about the jobs that are in demand in your sector. Upskilling young people and ensuring they come to you with the right skills and experience for the workplace. Employers often say to us that young people don't always come to them work ready and with the right skills and experiences to succeed. So this is your opportunity to help young people make the right choices and gain the correct skills and qualifications that you're looking for. The quality and diversity of your talent pool. Do you struggle to recruit from non-traditional and diverse backgrounds? We know that a more diverse workforce brings a broad range of thinking and fresh ideas and can more accurately reflect the community that you serve and help you to engage with them. So we can help you promote your opportunities and your sector to a more diverse audience. Meeting CSR objectives, another naughty acronym, sorry about that, but you know, lots of your employers, so hopefully it's one you recognise. Corporate social responsibility, or sometimes referred to as social value, corporate responsibility, community investment. If you work for a larger organisation with these objectives or social value responsibilities that involve education and employment, we can help you make those links. And this works especially well when we're working with global or national companies who need to make links locally to complement their wider programmes, as we know all the schools in Sheffield and all the colleges, and we can get you in there and help you run your programmes. Employee engagement. Surveys consistently show that volunteering is good for employee engagement, and employees who volunteer are happier in their roles and more likely to stay. Skills development. So that's also good for the development of your own skills, for example, by taking you out of your comfort zone, presenting to new people and helping to develop strategies and resources. Reputation and brand enhancement. Students remember you when you come in, and they'll go home and tell their families about the activities that you've been doing with them. So that will give you the edge over competitors. And also the feel-good factor, that warm, fuzzy feeling that we all get from volunteering and helping others. The satisfaction and reward that you get from making a difference to someone's life. Often you're working directly with young people, so you'll see this firsthand. The other thing that ties in with the feel-good factor, I think, is the opportunity to meet some brilliant young people. I'm a bit short on time, but I think we'll send these slides out afterwards. But there's just a few quotes there from from some young people that have been involved, from employers, sorry, that have been involved with programs with young people, and sort of opportunity to see that actually you could sort of meet some brilliant young people who could form a part of your team. So ways that you can get involved. This is our call to action that we wanted to finish with. So we're just going to run through a few of the opportunities that we currently have, and we've got a Google form that I'll get Tom to send out afterwards, so people can register interest. So we've got See It, Be It in Sheffield, which you mentioned a couple of times, and I know a couple of people on here have contributed videos to that. That's our virtual encounters project. We launched last month to a positive response, but I won't go into too much detail because we've got Catherine and Katie to talk about that next. Becoming an enterprise advisor. We do have a few vacancies for enterprise advisors across South Yorkshire for anyone who's looking for that ongoing commitment and who feels they can provide strategic support. I'll lump these two together: virtual employer encounters and virtual experiences of the workplace. So this is the kind of activities that we talked about before for Gatsby benchmarks 5 and 6. So the careers fairs, mentoring, CV reviews, insight visits. Schools are always on the lookout for volunteers for these kind of events. So on the form you can state if there's those kind of things you want to get involved in, and we'll just get in touch as and when the opportunities arise. Support for development of resources. I think there's 3 main ways that employers can support with that we'd like to get more of you involved in. Labour market information, so the sort of trends and skills and qualifications that people need to come and work in your sector. Training, or CPD, continuing professional development as it's often called in schools, so helping to deliver training about the workplace to teachers for them to for when they're talking to students about it. And curriculum development, so particularly around Gatsby benchmark 4 and the need to link the curriculum to careers, and it's useful to have employer input into that. Do we have Sarah Ward on here to tell us about Better Learner, Better Workers? I don't think we did when I scanned through. So I know on that, but Sarah does need volunteers from engineering, construction and health and social care sectors to take part in it's a series, it's interactive. So skills development, insight visits and employer encounters, a program that's going on. So I know she needs volunteers to be involved in that next year. So that's on the form. Ed's here to talk about future-proof and be inspired, I think, Ed.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the time. I'll be very quick. Future-proof is sort of the work experience program that I offered, sort of redesigned for the COVID times, but also probably going to be the way that we run work experience going into the future. And what that looks like is working with employers who can offer a project for young people to work on. It's all school-based, and it's a small group of students, so for about 5 or 6 students. So an employer would offer a project. It could be a problem, a task, but it's something related to their industry or to their business. And as part of that, they would then also offer 30 minutes each, 30 minutes time of about 4 or 5 employees each to talk about their career pathways, work that about their day-to-day job, working life, work-life balance, etc. So just to sort of educate children around, sort of young people around career pathways and the nature of the job. And then the students will put together a presentation that addresses that project that's been set and present that back to the employers and receive feedback. So it's all working towards that Gatsby benchmark 6. So really excited about it because it really focuses on the learning outcomes and the skills that students gain. I think traditionally work experience of the 1 or 2 weeks, the focus was on getting the students out there. It didn't really kind of matter what they were doing, but this really looks at the quality of the project and also what they're going to gain out of it. So that's called Future Proof, and it's just a new way of interacting with students and offering them the chance to gain work-related skills and the understanding of the working world, really. Be Inspired is that's our apprentice. It's an apprenticeship event, or traditionally was when it was a live event where students come and visit. But what we're looking for this year is it's going to take place in March, and what we're looking for employers is for employers who are happy to get involved in perhaps some live Q&A sessions about their industry, about their sectors, to students who are interested in the apprenticeship route, primarily. So it is focused on apprenticeships, but it's about educating young people about your sector, and then providing information about the skills that perhaps your businesses are looking for, opportunities. As I said, it's going to take place over about a week from the 8th to the 11th of March, and a variety of sessions running through the school day, but also perhaps some evening sessions where parents can get involved as well. But again, it's going to be part of the survey that Graham's sending out, and it is just looking at those employers who'd like to get involved and promote their sector.
Thanks, Ed.
Isn't it?
Yeah, thanks. And then finally, the Sheffield Business Together Trailblazer.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Morning, everyone. Carolyn McConnelly from Sheffield Business Together. I'm a civil servant on secondment to business in the community, but I've been involved in helping establish Sheffield Business Together. As Graham said, what Sheffield Business Together is a collaboration of like-minded businesses. So on our steering group, we've got ARM, Arra, Penrith Boot, John Lewis, Irwin Mitchell, Benchmark Recruitment, Mantra Media, both universities, and then Voluntary Action Sheffield and South Yorkshire's Community Foundation. And these businesses came together recognising there were a need for a more strategic approach to matching charity need and citywide challenges to business expertise. One of our key themes was social mobility, but to ensure our outreach was targeted where it was needed most, we partnered with Graham and Cheryl and the team and South Yorkshire Futures to understand the social mobility landscape and where the businesses could get best bang for buck in terms of their outreach. And what we did is we partnered with Longley College and Springs Academy, because they're in the constituencies of lowest social mobility. So all the work that the employers do with the students has a profound impact on attainment and aspiration. So since we launched the campaign, we've allocated dedicated enterprise advisors to Springs and Longley, and they've sort of conducted gap analysis to identify which interventions will have the most impact. And I think what we've done that's made our intervention successful, which is picking up on a point that Helen made in when she spoke, is what we've done is we've made it easy for businesses to engage with the schools. So we broker the engagement. So I've got a relationship with both the school and the college. I understand their needs. I understand the businesses in Sheffield Business Together and what sort of things they want to get involved in. That marries with their objectives and their sector needs. And so the engagement's targeted, it's not scattergun. Well, yeah, to be fair, some of it is scattergun, because when we are, if I'm fair, some of it is scattergun where it's more generic things like interview skills and mentoring. But we have made it really easy to broker those relationships. And as a result, I think prior to COVID, we'd had 46 requests from Longley and Springs. Unfortunately, we couldn't fulfil some of those because of COVID. But they've been so diverse of work that ranged from full-day world of work visits. So ARM did robotics and artificial intelligence. We brought them into DWP to look at how you develop digital applications. We've done finance and law talks about what my world of work. We've put 26 mentors, we've brokered 26 mentors, so we've done loads of stuff. And it really, that targeted intervention has really made a difference. So I know Graham's going to share a link to Sheffield Business Together, but we're also now working really closely with the Chamber and looking at how, we can reach more businesses. So if Graham's going to put a link, I think, in the pack these things out, but if people want to get engaged, there'll be a link in there.
Yep, it'll be on the form, and it'll be the only on the form. That'll be the only person that we share your email address with. If you request that, is Carolyn for Sheffield Business Together. So thanks, Ed and Carolyn. Final slide from me, but I've run out of time, so I'll just very quickly say, have a look at Inspiring the Future. That's a platform where you can sign up for one-off encounters, because not all the employer engagement goes through us. Sometimes the schools organise their own stuff, so that's a kind of matching platform that people can use that are going to be pushing more next year. And as I said, the survey's coming afterwards, and then there's our email address, seeitbeit@lifelonglearningandskills.org, if you want to get in touch. Thank you for listening. I'll hand over to Catherine and Katie to talk about See It Be It.
Yep. Hello, just a quick introduction to myself. I am a project officer, work as part of the lifelong learning team at the council, and alongside Cheryl, Fiona, Roger and Graham, who are all on the call. See It Be It in Sheffield is kind of my baby, is what I've brought up since I started in July to what it is now. So just a quick overview of what it is. It's a collection of video virtual encounters with employers that are hosted on the YouTube channel of the same name, so See It Be It in Sheffield. It's a collaboration between the council, the Enterprise Advisor Network and local employers across the city, and it was created to raise careers awareness and aspiration for the local labour market, aimed at young people across the city. So these videos provide a short employer encounter from a local person. We say ideally age 16 to 30, but we have had videos from those older than 30. Like Graham said, we don't like to assume age. Yep, so it's intended that the videos act as conversation starters, and they pose a short question or task at the end that can be considered by viewers and discussed with tutors, peer groups and parents. The videos cover an introduction to themselves and the company, the journey to their role, what they like about their role, what motivates them in their work life, what skills and qualities does their job require, what the local labour market in their sector's like, and then obviously setting the short task or question at the end. So some employers that we already have involved are Henry Boot Group, Harvey Morton Digital, Sheffield City Council, Kennedy's Law, Sheffield Sustainable Kitchens, Twinkle and CMS. So we've got quite a wide range of employers involved already, and there's obviously more added to that. They're just an example. So Graham's going to flick to the next slide and show you our most popular YouTube video that went up last month. It's from Nicole, who's a paralegal at Henry Boot PLC, and she's also an enterprise advisor in that network. So just going to show a couple of minutes.
Hi, my name is Nicole and I'm an in-house paralegal at Henry Boot PLC. So for those of you who don't know what a paralegal is a person that works within the legal industry. The main role of a paralegal is to support lawyers in their work. So this could be carrying out research, drafting documents such as contracts, or even court forms, communicating with clients, so updating them on the case, and so on, or getting the necessary outstanding information from clients, and then depending on which area of law you work in, so let's say if you work in criminal law, you could spend a lot of time in court, so you'd help the solicitor you work for prepare the court cases and trial bundles, and so on.
If you could just skip through to show how
So
we split the videos up. So we split the videos up into different sections.
Was that I did a law degree for free in general stuff.
So like routes into the role, journey to her role. So we edit that to split it up. So that's how kind of the videos are all formatted and put onto the YouTube channel. You can view after this meeting the YouTube channel. There's probably about 13 videos up there at the moment. We will be putting some more up this Friday. So hopefully more of a wide range of sectors and jobs there. If you just skip to the next slide, please. So how to get involved. So it's really easy. Videos are recorded on either a laptop or mobile phone, just in landscape orientation. We have produced an information and guidance document which sets out what we'd like you to cover in the video, some tips on how to record, more information on the task and how to set that, some examples of that too. And just to highlight that this task is really important when helping schools meet those Gatsby benchmarks that Graham mentioned earlier. And it prompts further conversation about your role that you've covered within the video. Then you send the video over to us. We've found that WeTransfer, Dropbox or OneDrive work really well. And then we edit it with our own branding, just as you've seen in the example, and then we upload it to YouTube on a launch date each month. So we're also committed to ensuring that See It Be It represents all backgrounds and that they're diverse and inclusive to ensure that everyone can relate to the videos that we share. So we're particularly looking for videos from those with SEND to address specific feedback from our SEND schools. So it would be useful if you could tap into any disability networks that you have at your employer. We also want to challenge stereotypes within roles, so male nurses, females in STEM, etc. And we understand that aspirations differ individually, so we're aiming to showcase roles from entry level onwards to help demonstrate the diverse landscape that's across the city. Our next launch is going to be the 1st of February. But we'll need all completed videos that want to be within that launch by the 22nd of January. So it gives a nice amount of time to work out who would like to be involved and create the videos. So yeah, that's the next launch date. And then just got some feedback on the next slide. So we've had some really good feedback from schools and partner organisations. But then I think it was Tegan who's actually on the call. She shared it on LinkedIn and it got sort of really good feedback that we're really proud of. So Tegan said that how important the project was and how proud she was to be part of it. Vivian from HBD spoke about how proud they were to be involved in such a project, and then others highlight that it's a super initiative or an unbelievably brilliant initiative. So that's really good and we're really proud of that, and we're really proud that it's being used well and something that's immediately there for people to use as well. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over to Katie, who's been involved with the project, and she's going to talk about her involvement and experience.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Katie Mcmanus. I'm a graduate development surveyor at HBD. For those of you who don't know, HBD is part of the Henry Boot group of companies. It's one of the development arms. We're a national business. I'm actually based in the Leeds office, which covers the entirety of the Yorkshire North East region. However, our HQ is in Sheffield at Bannercross Hall. That's been the group's head office since 1932. So it's been there for quite a while, and we do really care about the city and the wider region. But as a business in general, we want to create positive impact wherever we go, as far as we can reach. In Sheffield, one of the ways we do this is through the Sheffield Property Association and getting involved in other initiatives that Graham mentioned earlier. Henry Boot is a member of the SPA, and we're particularly involved and really keen on getting involved in engaging and inspiring the next generation, which Helen mentioned earlier. So working alongside Sheffield City Council on the See It Be It initiative felt like a natural fit to us. And as well, a lot of people, not just younger generations, aren't aware of careers in property at all. So this is another reason why Henry Boot offered to kind be the guinea pigs, I keep referring to it ourselves as, to see how it worked, the See It Be It, and it's been really successful. So I took on the role of organising from a Henry Boot point of view, which isn't very difficult at all, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I'll come on to what actually was involved in a second. But just a bit of context to my background and why I wanted to get involved in this and my experience. I've always been interested in property, used to love like Homes Under the Hammer and stuff on TV. So my career, I wanted to be an estate agent, and that was it. That's the only career I thought you could have in the property industry. So in year 10, we had a week's work experience week where we had to go out and find some work experience. So I managed to get some at a local estate agent and absolutely loved it and wanted to be an estate agent. However, I was very fortunate in the fact that my granddad was a retired chartered surveyor, so I actually had that role model to inform me of the wider property market and all the roles available, and kind of offer me that guidance, which is what Graham touched on earlier about people often, know people who are family related and get them work experience. Because I never heard of chartered surveying or anything other than a estate agency at school, and even when it came to writing my personal statement for university, none of my teachers have ever heard of it before. And as much as it was a great school and there was careers advice, there were very little help in that sense. But luckily for me, I had my granddad. So I can't imagine if someone else was interested in it, they'd probably just be put off and be directed to go to something else. And I found that experience was quite similar to others on my degree when I started university at Sheffield Hallam's University studying real estate. I just graduated earlier this year, but I'd say probably 90% of the real estate course, there's about 50 of us, had family in the industry. Likewise, on my placement year, I undertook a placement year in my third year of study. And professionals I met either had a relation in the industry, whether it be a family friend or a family member, or it was just luck how they fell into it. So nothing was careers advice. I've never come across that before. And it shocked me so much that this is why I'm interested in getting involved in initiatives. And I also wrote my dissertation surrounding the topic of meritocracy, which is to do with the equality of opportunity. And my findings were ultimately we need employers to inspire younger generations. So one of the things I looked into was what is actually the benefits to employers? Why would we actually take part and spend time doing this? But actually, just touching again on what Graham said earlier, you get a diverse workforce, which ultimately means you get diversity of thought and leads to greater innovation. So you get the competitive edge over other businesses. And also having a diverse workforce and those ethoses and values set into the business through the top down actually attracts and retains talent. So which is really important, particularly when you again want to get the competitive edge over other businesses. And it also concluded there are several ways to open up career opportunities to a wider audience. And I'll just quickly touch on these because I'm conscious of time, but one of which is raise awareness, which the CB campaign does. Other is to offer work experience and placements to everyone, not just family, friends and clients, which I know I'm being very hypocritical right now because my granddad, obviously, as I mentioned, got me my first work experience placement, and that was a snowball effect. So I'm kind of an example of, right, so I met someone on that work experience placement, it got me my next one, and before I know it, I've got 5 work experience placements compared to someone else that might not know anyone and doesn't have that. So then that also puts me ahead, and again it leads back to the social mobility. One participant who I interviewed, their business has an initiative in place whereby if you offer work experience to a family friend, you've got to offer the same amount of time and your time at work experience to someone on the diversity and inclusion list who's essentially cold called and just emailed off their own back, but no one has the capacity to do it. So that is kind of one way of addressing it, I guess. Role models are really important. If literally you can't see it, you don't want to be it. So if I looked at a business and there was no females at all, I just think I wouldn't fit in there. Like, again, the CB campaign acknowledges, and engagement is really important. So different platforms. I know that SPA at the minute are looking at potentially doing some gaming software to try and engage younger people. And the YouTube channels, I think, like, if you ask about 50% of 10 to 14 year olds, if you ask them what they want to do when they're older, they'll say YouTube blogger, which I find bizarre because I've never been into YouTube myself, but clearly it's a great platform to use, and different routes into the working world, such as apprenticeships as well. So in CB is one of the easy ways to inspire and open up career opportunities to younger generations. Also, from an employer perspective, you can promote your sector and also promote your business. So on the YouTube channel, we've got Henry Boot name on there. We've got it shared on LinkedIn, etc. And at the moment, you can't offer those work experience opportunities. Well, I don't think we can as a business because of data sensitivities, and you can't actually come in. So this is a way to give back that's really, really quick and easy to do. within our Henry Boot PLC, because we're a PLC, we've got so many roles within that. To name a few of the people who got involved from our side of things, it's project managers, marketing, IT, HR, accountancy, admin, surveying, and Nicole was shown there in terms of the legal department. What we actually did, Catherine sent me the brief of what to include in the videos, which you mentioned earlier. To quickly run through, this was just an introduction to yourself and your company, the journey you took to get to your role, what the role entails day to day, and what qualities and skills are needed to do your role. You just record it on whatever thing you want, about 5 minutes, can be more, can be less, and send the raw footage over to Catherine, who literally, she does all the hard work and edits it. You just have to sit there, talk about what you do for about 5 minutes and send it to Catherine, and she deals with the rest. So it's literally as simple as that. Working with Catherine is great. Now that we're getting live inquiries through the SPA, we're just directing them straight to Catherine, who sends the video brief and a bit more information, as she discussed earlier. So it's not onerous at all, and it's really easy and can make a big impact to someone, particularly at these times. And we don't really want to lose young talent coming through the industry. I know that in the property industry, after the 2008 financial crash, kind of a recruitment halt, a lot of people were made redundant, and now we're experiencing the skill shortage that Graham talked about earlier. So yeah, that's just a quick brief overview. I hope I've not been too long, but if there's anything else you'd like to ask me from an employer perspective of taking part in the CB or anything else, I'm on LinkedIn. And if there's any of the property industry watching and wants to get involved, you can email the Sheffield Property Association on the website, and I can respond and put you in touch with Catherine through that. Thank you.
That's brilliant, Katie. Thank you very much. And thank you to all our speakers. I think that has been a really great, varied session. Everyone from Sheffield Council, that was really informative. Thank you. And great to get your view, Katie. And thanks as well to the Chamber of Commerce for organising and marketing this session. We have sort of come up to 10 o'clock. We're on 9:59 by my reckoning, so I'm not sure we're going to have time for a Q&A, unfortunately, but hopefully the session did answer quite a lot of questions that people had, and I understand that we'll be circulating the slides and a bit more information and the survey that Graham mentioned to everybody on this call. So hopefully, you know, you'll be able to see who to get in touch with if you do have any follow-up questions, and how easy it is to get involved and to do your bit. So I think that probably brings us to an end. I'm just seeing all the great feedback on the chat. Thank you, everyone. That's great. Charlotte, I did have you down to talk in the Q&A, but unfortunately we've run out of time, but thank you for putting that on. And I really look forward to working with you all and making a real success of the See It Be It campaign and everything else that's going on. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.